This is World News Program coming to you live from Algiers with the latest from around the globe. Coming up, the headlines. At least 40 killed in new Zionist massacres in Gaza. The Red Crescent reveals horrifying details about the killing of its paramedics in Rafah. Also coming up tonight, protests outside the European Union headquarters demand the release of Sahrawi prisoners. Demonstrators call for an end to Morocco's abuses against them, an end to the plundering of Sahrawi resources, and respect for the rulings of the European Court of Justice. And in efforts to end the war in Ukraine, London postpones foreign ministers' peace talks. A Kremlin stresses the need to overcome differences among the parties involved, while Zelensky affirms Ukraine's readiness to engage in dialogue with Russia once a ceasefire is in place. Hello and welcome to your nightly news. First in our file, the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza announced on Thursday that 39 people were martyred and 105 others injured who were transported to Gaza hospitals or to Gaza Strip hospitals over the past 24 hours. In a statement, the ministry added that the total number of martyrs since the resumption of the aggression of the Strip or on the Strip has risen to 1,928, with 5,055 injured. The ministry further indicated that the total death toll from the Zionist aggression on Gaza has reached 51,305 martyrs, 117,096 injured since October 7, 2023. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society confirmed on Wednesday that Israeli occupation forces committed a horrific massacre against its teams by deliberately targeting and killing paramedics in cold blood. In its statement, the organization said the occupation forces rejected efforts to evacuate wounded paramedics and deliberately buried them in a mass grave in Rafah after killing them. It also mentioned that the Red Crescent centers had been destroyed by occupation forces, calling for international intervention to protect its teams who are working under extremely harsh conditions. And the Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs for the National Community Abroad, Sofiane Chayeb, has led Algeria's delegation at the 163rd Arab League Council session of foreign ministers held at the League's headquarters under Jordan's chairmanship. According to the Algerian Foreign Ministry, discussions centered on key Arab issues, particularly the Palestinian cause, which remains a core concern for the Arab world. The session also addressed the situation in Syria, Sudan, Lebanon, and Somalia, along with Arab cooperation with regional and international partners. Algeria reaffirmed its steadfast support for Palestinian rights, urging an end to aggression, the delivery of humanitarian aid, and reconstruction. It also reiterated backing for full UN membership for Palestine and the creation of an independent state within 1967 borders with East al-Quds as its capital. The meeting stressed the need to bolster Arab unity and solidarity in confronting regional challenges. And now in Yemen, U.S. warplanes renewed their airstrikes early Wednesday, local time, targeting several regions in Yemen. According to the Yemeni news agency, the strikes targeted telecommunications networks in various areas of Taiz province, and other strikes have hit Ma'rib province and the city of Hudaydah. This comes after a series of airstrikes the night before on Kamaran Island and Al Salif district. The Yemeni Houthi group announced that it had targeted vital targets in the occupied areas of Haifa and Jaffa with a hypersonic ballistic missile. Houthi military spokesman Yahya Sariyah said on Wednesday, "We will not retreat from our duties to support the Palestinians until we stop the aggression in Gaza and lift the siege on them."
The missile force of the Yemeni armed forces carried out a significant military operation targeting a vital target of the Zionist enemy in the occupied Haifa area with a hypersonic ballistic missile. By the grace of God, the missile reached its target and the interception systems failed to intercept it, and it caused a state of fear and panic among the Zionist settlers, with more than 2 million Zionists heading to shelters. The drone force of the Yemeni armed forces also carried out a military operation targeting a vital target in the occupied Yafa area with a drone of the Yafa type.
And human rights activists and Sahrawi supporters have urged the international community, especially the European Union, to pressure Morocco to release Sahrawi prisoners held in its jails. At a protest Wednesday outside the EU headquarters in Brussels, participants called on the EU to uphold its moral and legal responsibilities toward the Sahrawi cause, demanding the immediate release of all unjustly detained Sahrawi civilians.
We are here in front of these European institutions so that the voice of the Sahrawi people can be heard. The voice of the Sahrawi people must be heard by these European institutions, including the European Parliament and the European Commission. Europe has a responsibility to be true to itself and to its claims of defending human rights and international law, while we see it complicit with Morocco in its occupation of Western Sahara.
And participants in the International Conference on the Sahrawi role of the Sahrawi Republic in promoting peace and security in the region, organized Wednesday in Brussels by the Polisario Front's representation in Europe, called for compelling the Moroccan occupier to stop plundering Sahrawi resources. They urged EU countries to halt all economic and trade agreements involving Sahrawi resources, arguing that such deals legitimize the occupation and prolong the suffering of the Sahrawi people.
La France est une fondatrice de l'Union européenne.
France, as a founding member of the European Union, has a duty to work with Europe to respect international agreements and resolutions, including those related to Western Sahara. However, it is failing to do so.
Participants in the International Conference on the Sahrawi Republic's role in regional peace and security urged the international community to uphold its commitments toward the Sahrawi people under occupation. Held Wednesday in Brussels by the Polisario Front's EU representation, the conference called on the EU and global bodies to support the Sahrawis' right to self-determination and to pressure international institutions to ensure their freedom to choose their future without external constraints.
We are here to represent the Venezuelan Federation in solidarity with the Sahrawi people and their right to self-determination. We reject foreign interference funded by some European Union countries that are complicit with the occupation. It is important that we are here to support the Sahrawi cause, which will remain steadfast until the Sahrawi people attain their right to freedom and independence.
It was my privilege and honor to attend today's conference. The government and the people of Namibia believe it is important to show solidarity with the people of Western Sahara. Namibia achieved independence only in 1990, and we did so with the support of the international community. And it is for that reason that we believe that it is important that for all people who live under illegal occupation, that they have the right to freely exercise their right to self-determination and live in liberty.
The Moroccan occupation authorities continue systematic settlement policies against Sahrawi civilians in Western Sahara, including repeated home demolitions and land confiscations. According to the Sahrawi news agency, the Sahrawi Association for Victims of Grave Human Rights Violations condemned a recent demolition of homes near occupied La'youn, describing it as part of a deliberate effort to displace the indigenous population and alter the region's demographic makeup in favor of illegal annexation plans.
The continued detention of Sahrawi activists and political militants by the Moroccan occupation constitutes a blatant violation of international law and human rights conventions. It exposes the true face of the repression and persecution policy practiced by the Makhzen in the occupied Western Sahara. We reaffirm our ongoing efforts to seek justice for the detained Sahrawis and reiterate our full solidarity with all prisoners held in Moroccan prisons, calling for their immediate release. We urge all free people to fully engage in the national and international campaign to free Sahrawi detainees and call for urgent action from human rights organizations and freedom-loving people around the world to pressure the Moroccan occupation authorities to end their policy of repression and torture.
In the same context, Sahrawi National Union of Women condemned Morocco's continued detention of Sahrawi activists and political figures, calling it a blatant violation of international law and human rights conventions. In a statement, the union said the move exposes the true face of the repressive policies imposed by the Moroccan regime in occupied Western Sahara, where basic freedoms remain under siege in open defiance of international norms.
The Sahrawi Association of Victims of Grave Human Rights Violations, while following with deep concern the ongoing violations, affirms the following. It strongly condemns this systemic crime, which constitutes a blatant violation of the provisions of the Fourth Geneva Convention. It emphasizes that Western Sahara is a non-self-governing territory according to United Nations General Assembly resolutions and is undergoing a decolonization process, rendering the Moroccan presence in the territory a military occupation. It holds the Moroccan state fully responsible for these serious violations and calls on the international community, including the United Nations and International Committee of the Red Cross, to urgently intervene to protect Sahrawi civilians. It renews its call for the establishment of an independent UN mechanism to monitor the human rights situation in the occupied Western Sahara.
The Moroccan writer and journalist Ali Lahrouchi affirmed that the unjustified actions taken by Mali's transitional authorities against Algeria are part of a larger conspiracy orchestrated by well-known parties, disturbed by Algeria's firm stances and its unwavering defense of African interests and resistance to all foreign ambitions in the continent.
الجزائر ضد الكيان الصهيوني الإسرائيلي.
Algeria is against the Israeli Zionist entity and it expresses it overtly. Algeria backs the Palestinian cause and considers it a priority. Algeria supports the right of peoples to self-determination. Algeria backs African states, particularly the Sahel-Saharan states, because it protects its southern borders. In summary, what Algeria has granted to Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and other neighboring countries would prevent those countries from an ethical, moral, and good neighborliness perspective from turning against Algeria. If the downing of the drone was a mere incident and that Mali requested clarification regarding its downing, I believe that Algeria will provide it with 10 drones.
الجزائر ستمنح لها 10 طائرات.
Algerian Minister of State and Foreign Affairs, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, held a one-on-one meeting with his Swedish counterpart, Maria Malmer Stengard, in Stockholm, followed by an expanded working session involving members of both countries' delegations as part of his official visit to the Kingdom of Sweden. A statement from the Algerian Foreign Ministry noted that the talks provided an opportunity for a comprehensive review of the various aspects of the historical relations between the two countries ahead of the 300th anniversary in 2029 of their first treaty. The ministers agreed to enhance the economic partnership between Algeria and Sweden to match their strong political ties. At the end of his visit to Stockholm, Mr. Attaf laid a wreath on the grave of the late Olof Palme, a friend of the Algerian Revolution. A statement of the Foreign Ministry here said that the gesture comes in line with the President of the Republic's commitment to preserving national memory in general and to remembering the great deeds of the friends of the Algerian Revolution in particular. And later on the day, or on the same day, Minister Ahmed Attaf arrived in Helsinki on an official visit to the Republic of Finland on behalf of the Algerian President, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, according to the Algerian Foreign Ministry. The visit aims to strengthen political dialogue and intensify bilateral cooperation, particularly in economic sectors. During his stay, Attaf is expected to hold a working session with Finnish Foreign Minister Elina Valtonen and will also be received by top officials in Finland. Algeria's Investment Promotion Agency Director General Omar Rakesh stressed that forging a strategic investment partnership between Algeria and EU countries is no longer optional but a necessity. Speaking at the closing of the Algeria-EU Partnership for Sustainable Investment project, Rakesh highlighted the global geo-economic shifts, emphasizing the need for stronger coordination, economic integration, and channeling investments toward new horizons that support sustainable development.
Since its launch in September 2023, this project has reaffirmed that building strategic investment partnership between Algeria and its European Union partners is no longer a mere option, it has become a necessity. This is especially true in the light of the profound geostrategic and geo-economic shifts taking place globally, which compel all of us to intensify coordination, achieve greater complementarity, and channel investments toward new horizons that strengthen the path toward sustainable development.
For his part, European Commission's Director General for Middle East, North Africa and the Gulf, Stefano Sanino, announced a new project set for next year to expand cooperation between Algeria and the European Union, which aims at easing access for Algerian companies into European markets.
Algeria holds a significant standing, and the European Union regards it as one of its key partner countries. The strength of our relationship is reflected in the scale of our investments in Algeria. Looking ahead, there is a new initiative planned for next year to expand the scope of cooperation between Algeria and the European Union. This project will facilitate Algerian companies' access to European markets, improve the business climate, and further encourage stronger trade ties between both sides.
Algerian Economic Renewal Council head Kamal Moula stressed that economic partnerships must follow a win-win approach, noting significant cooperation opportunities with European countries, provided mutual interests are respected.
The partnership must be built on a win-win basis, with full transparency, ensuring no harm is done to any party involved. The potential for cooperation between Algeria and the European Union is vast. Algeria has continuously developed and strengthened its ties with several European countries. Establishing a framework with the European Union would allow for better regional cooperation, as long as it guarantees mutual interests are safeguarded and no one imposes unilateral views. While Algeria has its own priorities, so does the European Union. However, I firmly believe that consultation and negotiation are fundamental to achieving effective cooperation.
And in a time of rising global tensions, Algeria emerges as a key player in promoting peace and regional stability, with a surge of diplomatic activity drawing international recognition and high-level visits from around the world. Hossein Barkana's report.
An antidote to poisons of war, the decay of interstate relations, and rising security threats, Algerian diplomacy stands out today as a beacon of peace and stability. A reference point for many countries across diverse regions and political orientations. Wherever Algerian diplomacy has landed, it has often followed in the wake of conflict, seeking to extinguish wars and end bloodshed. In just 2 weeks, Algeria welcomed diplomatic delegations from over 20 countries. These visits, coupled with high-level international forums, addressed the pressing global challenges of our time. Among the visitors were Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi from West Asia, his Egyptian counterpart Sameh Shoukry from East Africa, and 4 days later, a delegation from Eastern Europe. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan also visited. While discussions varied, all sides agreed on one thing: Algeria's constructive an essential role in the region. Three consistent themes emerged: recognition of Algeria's courageous and principled positions, especially in defending Palestinian rights amid global erosion of values and human rights; Algeria's active role in promoting Arab, Islamic, and African causes on the international stage was also widely praised. Its policies are now viewed as reliable, trusted, and just, not only by governments, but by people themselves. Countries like Russia, Azerbaijan, Italy, Colombia, Tunisia, South Africa, Rwanda, and Angola have increasingly regarded Algeria as a pillar of regional stability. Many have raised their bilateral relations with Algeria to new strategic levels, recognizing it as a sincere and dependable partner, just as it was during liberation struggles. The diplomatic momentum extended beyond politics. Algeria received Mauritanian defense minister and Rwanda's chief defense to strengthen military cooperation and enhance security coordination, particularly in the face of growing regional and global threats. Algeria's leadership in counterterrorism and organized crime prevention was emphasized, as was its comprehensive, forward-looking approach to conflict resolution. The country also hosted the former Research, Innovation, and Development Centers of the African Petroleum Producer Organization, reaffirming its commitment to support African nations in energy development and industrialization. In the realm of cybersecurity and digital sovereignty, Algeria organized a regional workshop with the North African Office of the Committee of African Intelligence and Security Services. This initiative underlines Algeria's readiness to defend Africa's collective interests, grounded in a rich historical legacy and proactive, integrated strategy to protect the continent from modern-day threats.
And in other news, the UK announced the postponement of scheduled peace talks on Ukraine, which were set for Wednesday in London and to be attended by several foreign ministers. According to AFP, citing the British Foreign Office, the meeting has been postponed, but discussions among officials remain ongoing. Meanwhile, a Ukrainian delegation is expected to meet with U.S. envoy Keith Kellogg in London after the postponement, according to a source in the Ukrainian presidency cited by AFP.
The divergence of positions on the war in Ukraine continues to escalate as the ministerial meeting scheduled in London to discuss peace efforts has been postponed after Ukraine rejected the American plan. White House spokesperson affirmed on Wednesday the discontent of the U.S. president, describing Zelensky's actions as going in the wrong direction, as well as reporting that U.S. president's patience is running really thin.
If the president's frustrated, his patience is running very thin. He wants to do what's right for the world. He wants to see peace. He wants to see the killing stopped. But you need both sides of the war willing to do that. And unfortunately, President Zelensky seems to be moving in the wrong direction.
Instead of the expected meeting between the foreign ministers of Britain, the United States, France, Germany, and Ukraine, it was decided that U.S. Special Envoy to Ukraine Keith Kellogg would participate in the discussions with senior European officials. The U.S. plan, which President Donald Trump is set to support, includes provisions that Kyiv views as biased in favor of Moscow. Axios revealed that the plan includes freezing the current front lines and U.S. recognition of Russia's sovereignty over Crimea. In contrast, the Ukrainian president reiterates his refusal to recognize Russia's sovereignty over Crimea, considering it Ukrainian territory that is not open to debate.
Ukraine does not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea. There is nothing to talk about. This is beyond our constitution. It is our territory, the territory of the people of Ukraine.
In light of these developments, the American position appears more assertive. President Donald Trump believes that the negotiations are reaching a critical point, while his Secretary of State confirms that Washington will abandon the talks unless progress is made within days.
But we're not going to continue with this endeavor for weeks and months on end. So we need to determine very quickly now, and I'm talking about in a matter of days, whether or not this is doable over the next few weeks. If it is, we're in. If it's not, then we have other priorities to focus on as well.
Thus, the path to a political solution to the Ukrainian crisis appear faltering. Despite ongoing official-level talks in London, expectations of a major political breakthrough appear slim, given the rigidity of the positions and divergent visions.
This was a report on the Russian-Ukrainian negotiations by our colleague Usama Ayati. And that's about it for tonight's program. Thanks for watching and have a great night.